Hey, Inoka, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi, Susan. So I am, would say I would describe myself as an island person. I am from Sri Lanka. I am in terms of employment, I'm a full-time human resource practitioner in a tech company. But I have been in coaching and I've learned or sort of acquired the skills in coaching since, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, and have realized the transformative impact it has personally had on me and how much I have also, been able to help somebody else, including individuals and communities. And that's something I feel has not only helped me sort of coach individuals, but also to create shifts in how I communicate with people, build relationships, and sort of also strengthen relationships around. So that has been immensely helpful. Outside of that, I love culture, I love nature. So a lot of even some of the tools that I use are things like photography or coaching in nature. So I try to bring in all of that together. And it's very interesting where technology is also evolving. And I'm trying to weave all of this together and see how best we can help not only individuals, but as well as teams and communities. So that's
Mm,
me.
fabulous. And would you mind sharing a little bit more about Sri Lanka and coaching within the context of your community and the societies that you're part of?
Absolutely. So in Sri Lanka, coaching, I would say, is still at a very nascent stage. I think it's a lot better post-COVID. There's a lot of awareness created. We have an ICF chapter here. There are coaches who have got trained from multiple schools. Um, we have about 3 established schools here as well. So I think the sense of professional coaching is picking up in Sri Lanka, but I would say it's still quite in its baby stages. Most of the coaching happens through corporates, and I think that's a good place to start and a good place to start exploring the benefits of coaching. But what we are also trying to do is to see how, the effect of coaching can impact in different communities. So that's where we are. I think, like in any part of the world, there are many people who are coaches, but our responsibility, I'm a part of the Colombo chapter of the ICF, and one of our responsibilities is also to see how can we evolve coaching awareness, and professional coaching capability
Mm,
in the country, and to take it wider from individual one-to-one coaching, which people are getting very familiar with, and expand it to teams and communities, because Sri Lanka culturally is a very community-based country. And there's so much we can do,
mm,
through the impact of coaching here.
beautiful, yeah. And in our fireside chat today, we are going to have an informal conversation. And what I'd like to start with is I'm curious if you could share any moment, a meaningful moment perhaps that you've witnessed where you've seen human connection and technology together in coaching.
Right. Um, I think that for me, that's a very interesting question because two things. Like I said, in terms of coaching as a country, we are in a very sort of nascent stage and an evolving stage. Um, but in terms of technology, the country is evolving. We have national digital strategies. Companies are dabbling with AI in so many different ways now, and the technology is so accessible across. Something that I personally have again at a very elementary stage, but I feel that there's so much out there around coaching and technology. But something I've found very useful is, in my coaching sessions where the tools that we use, even the technology, basic technology like Zoom or the platforms that we use, now have AI built into it. And I think the simplest thing, which kind of made a coaching conversation um, more human in that sense, is being able to have the tool to assist. Where in certain occasions, I mean, I use the AI summaries that come out of it, and I've also tried using these summaries, throughout the journey of a client to I understand patterns, some other, to sort of join the dots as we move along rather than taking notes. They've been immensely helpful because it's helped me reflect quite a lot about a client, and also to play back and to, be able to say, have you noticed these things about yourself? And rather than me taking down notes, which distracts me from the conversation as well, however much I ask permission, I think these summaries have been immensely helpful. it has also helped to get to identify tools that might be helpful in situations, in particular situations of a client journey that might relate to the client's sort of journey moving forward,
Mm.
and particularly find out tools rather than experiment with different things to understand, what is out there, what are the things that we can double with, who's researched on it, and even get sample tools to support those
Mm.
journeys. So I feel leveraging that, technology in the slightest form in terms of how it can aid a coach, I have found them to be immensely useful. I also feel that helps to connect with the client better, because sometimes when we write or when I write, I've noticed I can get distracted and, get carried away with the writing. There's so much that you unearth during that conversation. But here, yes, you get all the detail, and of course you have to validate all of that. You have to ask the client for permission, but it's very supportive and it saves a lot of time when you have that aid in terms of technology in the tools that we use.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these tools are not often used by our coaches in the country, but I think a lot of what's familiar are the large LLM models that are out there, which you use for sort of prompting and searching. But I think we do have opportunity to create awareness and also give experiences of these now,
Mm.
which I think is a great thing for us here as well.
And I'm mindful that whenever we're using the transcripts or summaries, that we're making sure that we've got consent. Obviously, you mentioned that,
Absolutely.
but also if you are going to use them in a chat, a generic chat tool, is to remove any personally identifiable information, just so that, yeah, of course. And
Absolutely.
as it's new, and you mentioned dabbling with it, so as we experiment and learn, what principles guide you keeping AI human-centered, ethical, and inclusive?
It's a very interesting question. I feel that, you cannot take away the human in any equation, however much technology has evolved, and my principle is human first and
Mm.
technology to support.
Mm.
And I believe one thing is to, not forget that, particularly in the instance of coaching, that the human is essential to coach.
Mm.
No one can replace that, and to keep that in mind, because I also believe that uh, technology can mimic a human, but it cannot be human.
Mm.
So to make sure that our capability as humans only enhance and not diminish, uh, as technology expands. Technology as good as we are.
Mm.
We sometimes, I mean, we are the ones who create it or input it or build it and help those models mature. So I think it's always human first, never forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I believe, is the transparency um, around it. So when we are using technology to keep our clients informed, use it ethically, get permission, and always make sure that, wherever we use it, because the data can be anywhere today.
Mm.
The data can be hosted anywhere. And like you quite rightly said, when we use it in broader platforms, we don't know where it goes. So
Mm.
I think to kind of hold that information as sacred because it's a client's person.
Mm.
I think for me, creating awareness amongst the clients that, we are going to be using, are you going to be okay with that? Or this is what I will use it for is very important. And that covers the whole gamut of ethics as well.
Mm.
A third thing that comes to mind, particularly looking at the region I come from, is cultural sensitivity.
Mm.
Because sometimes, again, I've noticed, in a workspace or in general, we get carried away with what technology can do. It's almost like a rabbit hole. You keep, moving and moving and moving through that. But we may forget about cultural sensitivities. And in countries, particularly around Asia, I've noticed that a lot. There are certain things, the words that we use, the language that we come across, the tools that we might use might hurt somebody, might offend somebody.
Mm.
People may not understand some of it because some of the information that we receive or whatever techniques and tools that we get may not be applicable or relatable to our context.
Mm.
So to be very mindful of, cultural sensitivities and what might resonate most with people in different places.
Mm.
For me, those are some of the three big ones. And I think to kind of bundle it all together, I would feel that to always remember that human connection is really important, even when we are making the most of technology. And technology, of course, is essential today. I don't think any one of us can survive without it.
Mm.
But how do we leverage the best use of it?
Mm. Mm. And keep, as you say, keep the human front and center of why we're doing it and why it matters. Yeah, why the human matters. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you could imagine one shift that would
Mhm.
positively shape the next chapter of coaching, what would it be?
Again, I feel, no, Susan, like right now when we hear coaching, it's
Mm.
a lot about I coach a person all the time, right? Like it's very often that's what you flip to when you say coaching in any environment. But I feel today, and having seen particularly what Sri Lanka went through most recently, we had a natural devastation here. But I feel that collectivism is going to be far more important. Whilst the individual is important, the focus on collectivism and the individual's seat in the collective space, I feel is going to be really important as we move forward. So what I wish is two things. One is to say how, to think how coaching can bind collectivism or communities together, because we are no more going to function in isolation.
Mm. No.
They're so much apart across the world, and it's seamless now. We are
Mm.
connecting. I would never have met if technology had not evolved. I would have had to
Absolutely.
travel. May have never afforded it. But it's a seamless world right now, and
Mm.
how we combine to create an impact becomes we rather than I.
Mm.
Um, and I believe that's going to be the heart of coaching going forward. Um, Also, how technology is evolving at a crazy pace. There's so much out there. There's so much technology can do. In fact, we had the coaching conference a few months ago in Sri Lanka, and the keynote speaker spoke about a visual, an aid which helps people who cannot see visualize something.
Mm.
And that's making it very human. It's giving, a capability that you and I have to
Mm.
somebody else. And I think that's the impact that technology can have. And of course, even more, we've heard of phenomenal technological advancement. But how do we combine the capability or the skill set that coaching brings with technology and impact communities and focus on how can we meet the individual in those communities, in those collectives, rather than focus always, which the natural tendency to coach an individual.
Mm.
My wish is that it evolves there, that we have the systems, processes, stakeholder buy-in, and the support structure to bind those two together, because today I feel the world needs stronger communities.
I like the idea of coaching as infrastructure to hold people and enable them actually uh, to elevate together, to realize things between themselves that they could never have done on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look on the horizon, what changes about coaching and what stays the same?
I feel what changes will be, um, the sort of the sharpening that we bring through our professional bodies. It's taking a clearer shape. So I think a few years back, even if I were to explain what coaching is, there's that whole diluted sense of then what is counseling, then what is consulting, then what is mentoring. But I feel that increasingly what's coming through is clarity of what coaching can offer. Um, I feel that is going to be very beneficial for even for people like in our countries where coaching is still diluted, to understand here is where I become a professional coach. Here is what I need to have to be recognized as a coach. And even for those who are obtaining a service, to say here is why I need someone who has these credentials.
Hmm.
I think that clarity is coming through, which is really great. And we are also building global communities around it, which are like sort of member resource groups or interest communities, which helps people understand, okay, here is something more for me,
Mm.
and give, I've always been asked the question, so is coaching, sitting in front of somebody and having a conversation, but to say, okay, there's so much more out there, there's so much you can influence. I think those possibilities are becoming clearer and much more available now.
Mm,
I think for me, what stays the same is still, I have to keep saying this, but the dependency that it is so very human.
mm,
And nobody, whatever you do, you might have tools that give answers. You might have tools that, I don't know, give so many sort of context or uh, things that might be an immediate response, but it can never replace what a human coach can do.
mm,
And
mm.
I think those two things combined will only make the coaching experience a lot more meaningful.
Mm. I agree. I think with AI, it offers us the opportunity to be very clear about what coaching is and how it benefits people and why the real transformation happens when you are with a coach. Yeah.
It also, if I were to add, Susan, for people who want to learn coaching or want to become coaches, I think now the platforms to, opportunities to learn and get those services closer uh, is much more available, which I think is great to build that community.
Mm,
And also when they want to say, for example, get their membership or credentialing, that support comes a lot through technology as well. And, AI pulls a lot of information or, tools together to
mm,
help those journeys. And anyone who thought, okay, there's so much for me to do and there's so much administrative work for me to do, someone who's setting up, AI actually makes life easier that way. And I
yeah.
think we need to optimize that. So I think the opportunity for those who are aspiring coaches or those who want to kind of sort of go to the next phase of their coaching journeys, I think the technology is out there to be that support, much greater than we have ever had before.
Mm. I like the idea of using AI as a support either for your workflows, for the administration, but also for
Yeah.
the pathways, either for you as a coach or for your clients. So, yeah. Mm. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we close our fireside chat?
It's been very interesting answering the questions, Susan. For me, I feel that the journey of coaching continues and never lose sight of what coaching, as in its own capability, can offer to the world. But it's also about how do we, optimize whatever is available to us. And technology and AI has evolved so much
Mm,
uh, to build those journeys together. Again,
mm,
like I said, it's human plus technology, and you can never lose sight of that. But for coaches out there, people who are looking for coaches out there, there is a lot more opportunity and potential. And I think this is the time to leverage both very strongly.
mm,
And we are building for the future.
mm. And before we go, I would like to say to the people of Sri Lanka, my thoughts are with you, and I
Thank you.
hope the country continues to repair after the natural disaster. So, and
Thank
I'm
you,
I'm
Susan.
pleased to see you. So,
Likewise, always.
so thank you so much for spending your time with us today, Inoka. I really value your insights and spending time with you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And it's great to have met you one to one.